Hi, my name is Ed Acevedo, and I'm professor and chair of the Department of Kinesiology and Health Sciences at Virginia Commonwealth University. I'm here today with Evie Stevens, a professional cyclist representing the United States here at the World Championships in Richmond, Virginia. Today we'll be talking about the sports science of cycling, and this is a series of interviews that we're doing that Virginia Commonwealth University is doing in conjunction with the World Championships being held this week here in Richmond, Virginia. Welcome, Evie. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come in and talk to us a little bit about science and technology and cycling today. Some of our viewers know a little bit about your background and your professional track, and know that you've had really a great World Championships here thus far, and still have one more race to go. So we're really delighted that you were able to sneak some time in with us.
Yeah, it's an honor to be speaking with you.
Great. So let me start off by talking about the bicycle itself. And my question is, what do you think has changed on the bike itself in the last 3 to 5 years that has helped you to race even faster?
Yeah, I mean, there's been an incredible amount of technology and science behind the bicycle. I personally am not that good at engineering or thinking about it, so I'm lucky. I'm sponsored by Specialized, and I've been riding with their bicycle since 2011. And even from then, when I started, I had a very nice bicycle, and from now it's even better. And so I ride on an Amira, which is a woman's specific bike, which is, that's, I think, one of Specialized where their strong suit is, because they created a race bike for a woman. So our geometry, obviously not all women have the same geometry, but I love because it's a bit, short torso and longer legs. And then, I'm not great with the specifics of what, the material is, but I know there's, the carbon fiber and where they actually place it and the aerodynamics, and there's so much that goes on behind the scene to make sure that these bikes are tested and ready. And Specialized has this, they call it the wind tunnel, but it's a wind tunnel, and I've gone in numerous times to see what my time trial position looks like, what my road bike position looks like. So realize it's called CDA. And so what is your CDA? So basically, what position can you get that makes you hit the wind as quickly as possible? So what position do I have to push less power to go faster? So there's all this, yesterday was the time trial, and there's so much science behind what skin suit you have on, what's your bike like, what wheels are you running, what's your shifting. So there's all this stuff behind it, which I'm lucky that I'm supported by very, good companies.
Right, really, wow, yeah. That's so cool. So let's go over into you as a cyclist. And my question would be, in terms of a 4 or 5 hour circuit race,
yeah,
which is coming up for you, what are you concerned most in terms of nutrition throughout that race?
Yeah, so even from my race in the team time trial on Sunday, individual time trial yesterday, and then the road race on Saturday. And so I know that from that week that I need my glycogen stores up, right? So I can't be ready for it Friday. I needed my dinner last night was, I ate a lot of pasta. Some people are gluten-free, I'm not, I love gluten. So, for me, I knew that meal was essential. Same as Sunday, the meal after was essential. So you have to constantly be thinking, okay, am I eating enough? The timing of my food is very essential. Like when I get off the bicycle, do I have my proper recovery? You can't go too far. If you feel hungry, it's not a good thing during this week. there's times in training where that's fine, but in this really important week where you're really tapping into your stores, and it's also the end of the season, and your World Championships are exciting, so I'm sure I just waste and burn calories just by being hyper. So you try to keep it calm, but you still have that buzz going on.
Yeah. And during the race now, you're drinking water,
yeah,
you're drinking, what else are you
so
taking in?
I usually eat a lot of gels. I like gummies and electrolyte drinks. So I normally start with 2 electrolyte drinks, and then my pockets are full. And then, early in the race, I'll try to eat real food. So if it's a bar, if it's a panini, maybe with some Nutella or peanut butter, anything that's kind of easy, or a rice cake that you can just get in and get that, stores early. And sometimes, probably for the World Championships, because I know I'll be nervous and it'll be a hectic race, I'll actually probably put gels in my water, because I know I'll have trouble, which is probably most people won't have this problem, but knowing myself, I'll put it in my bottle just to guarantee, let's say I get 400 calories off the bat.
Right, right. And so how many calories do you think you're taking every 20, 30 minutes?
So I'm trying to take maybe 200 calories every hour.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, and you want to drink a bottle every hour. I mean, that's pretty hard to do, but you try.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
How about other training adaptations that you've made just in your training from information you've learned either about yourself or through science that you've done in the last 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, so I'm really lucky. I work with Neil Henderson, who's my coach and a great sports scientist. And I've also just been surrounded, I think just being at the top of a sport, you get to be surrounded by the best in sport. You know, and so I've done a lot of things where you've heard from other people what they do, and you can try it out. And which is, I think for me, the most simple thing I've learned is sleep. So if I can sleep a lot, that's when I recover. That's my best adaptation. So if I train really hard and I can sleep, then I'm going to be good. You know, I did a test recently where I've just been tracking my weight, my sleep, and kind of how I feel every day. And I've done actually a lot of getting rid of my screens. So not using my iPhone or televisions or computers or anything after 8 p.m. to really improve my sleep, which that was probably not scientific, but my own little experiment, and it was amazing the benefit that it took. But then there's a lot of things people use, like I use sauna training, like heat training. You know, there's being at altitude. You know, there's a lot of different, you know, that's the whole beet juice movement. You know, Neil made me take a shot of beet juice yesterday, which I was like, but you know, you get to a point where sometimes you don't actually know if it makes a difference, but it might mentally feel like you're at an advantage. So, which I take ice baths all the time, and I don't know if it actually helps, but it mentally makes me feel like I'm doing something. So,
and this is all kind of new for you in the last 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, you know, so give it 6 years ago now. You know, I was working in finance on Wall Street, so you know, at Lehman Brothers, I wasn't that concerned about my sleep. Although I have to say, I think if I owned a company, I would have like sleep pods or something, because I really think I wasn't as productive. I would never have my employee pull an all-nighter. I think it's just the dumbest idea in the entire world, and I had to pull all-nighters for pitches, and I think I'm like, oh man, I must have made so many errors not being rested. But no, you weren't. You know, I drank Diet Coke. I put Splenda in my coffee. I ate low-fat, fat-free products. You know, I had no, concept of my nutrition. You know, unfortunately, I think as a female in New York City, I wanted to be aesthetically thin, but not for, you know, as an athlete, you want to be fit and healthy. And of course, your weight matters because it hills, but it's a different mentality.
And you're suggesting that all of these things would have helped you in your job mentally as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think if you eat well, sleep well, you know, exercise, recover, I think it would really enhance. I'm excited for whatever I do next, because I think I'll know how to approach it even better. You know, if you have a big meeting or something important for work, I would approach it like a big race.
You mentioned the mental aspects. Are there certain things you do to mentally prepare for kind of the challenge and intensity that you see in cycle racing?
Yeah, so I work with a sports psychologist, and it's been really helpful, because I started so late, my skills on the bike were not up to the levels of other people's, and so I also think maybe just because I think a lot, I have a lot of anxiety in the peloton on downhills. So I've worked with him a lot to come up with tactics to, you know, I'm never going to lose that, but how do I battle it and how do I get through it? And so kind of coming up with ways, you know, it's so different. You know, what works for me might not work for someone else, but figuring out tricks to be like, okay, you're nervous right now, but fight it and get to where you need to get to. So, and you know, for like a world championships, I visualize it, you know, I even, not just the racing, but there's a lot that goes on around it. And so you have to stay in your zone and kind of in your bubble, at least I do. And so I know that even before I come to one of these, how do I prepare mentally to handle all the stress around? And the stress of winning and the stress of losing. Disappointment and success.
Yeah. Do you think any of those skills as well transfer over into real life?
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like since I've become a cyclist, I've learned way more about myself. You know, you fail a ton in cycling. I mean, you fail way more than you. Yesterday in the time trial, I got 6, and to me, that's a failure. But from it, it's like, okay, well, what do I learn from it? I finished and I went right to Neil, like, okay, I need to do this next year. I want to do this better. I want to do this better. So I think, having failure quite often, and, it's different in a job because you do fail, but it's not as exposed. So I think learning how to cope with these failures and successes will prepare me very much for what I do next.
Yeah, I think talking about failure, sixth, you were one of the favorites. You were third last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, in that context, that's hard to kind of process and get back on track.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, and it's such an interesting thing because cycling courses are different, right? So knowing the style of course yesterday, I knew it didn't suit my style, but it was one of those things where it is what it is. How do I perform at the highest level on this course? And, for me, I was like, okay, I'm 25 seconds from the gold. So it's not far, but it's still like, okay, what? For me, the big goal is Rio. I want the Olympics, and it's hilly, which suits me better. So that's a positive to know that you have that. But also I know that I have to work harder.
Yeah. Where do you think technology is going next? What do you expect to see on the bike or even in sports, psych, nutrition, in the next 3 years?
I think it's just continuing to advance. I hope the UCI, who's the governing body of cycling, embraces it, because I think there's a lot to be gained from it, from the athlete's perspective and from the fan perspective. Like I have electronic SRAM E-tap on my bicycle, which is awesome. It just makes it easier. I hope there's more onboard footage, more data, kind of like NASCAR, to really get the viewer to be more involved in the sport. So I hope to see that, because nowadays there's the Google Glass. There's so much stuff. I live in San Francisco, and just being in the middle of that tech boom, I'm amazed by what they have there. So, I hope cycling embraces it. And there's so much to be learned about the human body. But at the same time, you have to be mentally tough, and you have to do work, So there's all this science, and at the same point, you have to remember, you have to get on the bike, you have to pedal, and you have to want it.
Yeah, yeah. But it's interesting though, if you imagine watching TV and you can see the person's heart rate.
That'd be great.
And you might even look at sweat rate, and you can, the viewer could see how many calories you're taking in and monitor that. You could see how much power you're putting out, it would likely add a lot more interest, I would imagine, from a viewer's perspective.
Yeah, I know some cyclists are very, they don't want their data out. But personally, I'm like, you can know my heart rate, you can know my power, you can know when I'm having a good day or a bad day. And I think cycling's at a turning point, especially women's cycling, where we want to engage our fans and get more fans. And so I think if that gets more fans, let's do it. I think it'd be very interesting. Yeah. And there's definitely the technology for it.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't understand how the technology works, but I know that there's smart people out there who do.
Yeah. Evie, thank you so much for spending time with us. I know you've been promoting cycling here at these World Championships and doing numerous interviews, and we all appreciate that. And you're really promoting Richmond as well.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
I'm loving Richmond, so yeah,
Great.
Thank you guys.
Yes, very
Great.
nice.
Thanks.